The Most Reluctant Convert, The Untold Story of C.S. Lewis is a small independent film based on a stage play of the same name, in which an adult C.S. Lewis describes how he, an atheist for much of his young life, eventually converted to Christianity. The movie is directed by Norman Stone and stars Max McLean, who also wrote and stars in the original stage play. Eddie Ray Martin and Nicholas Ralph play the child and college-age versions of C.S. Lewis in the film. I thought the movie was interesting overall, but this will likely only appeal to a very niche audience, which is made up of Christians or fans of C.S. Lewis who enjoy academic debates on the existence of God. Most of this movie is the adult C.S. Lewis walking through different locations significant to C.S. Lewis's upbringing, while following younger versions of himself and describing the thoughts he had in his head regarding God. It's kind of like a Christmas story where Scrooge is walking in and observing his past but can't interact with anyone other than the audience. There's even a scene where he takes the audience into a pub and sits down and offers them a drink. It's that kind of a movie. This movie feels a lot like a master's thesis put on film rather than a traditional biopic. I think I would actually enjoy reading the play script much more than rewatching the film because the narrator provides the audience with so much information that my mind started to wander elsewhere. You know when you have a really talkative friend who just goes on and you get some details of what they are saying here and there, but then you realize that you forgot everything that they said over the last 5 minutes? This happened to me several times in the movie, where I hear the narrator sharing his thoughts on the classic works of literature and Voltaire and Herodotus and the materialists and the theists and the limitations and the strengths of each of their perspectives, and then he'll say something like, "And my only conclusion could be that God exists." And I'm thinking, whoa, wait, can you go back and repeat the last 2 minutes because I spaced out? There were also a lot of moments in this movie where I wish they showed the conversations he had as a youth rather than having the narrator describe what was said. For example, they will show C.S. Lewis talking with a classmate in the background, like the younger version of C.S. Lewis in the background talking with a classmate, but then instead of showing the younger C.S. Lewis having a conversation with his classmate, it will focus on the adult C.S. Lewis explaining to us what was said in the conversation. I know this movie is trying to use the words of C.S. Lewis directly so that it may be inauthentic for them to make up what they think the dialogue should have been if C.S. Lewis didn't write it down directly. But there were several times in the movie when I thought, wow, I really wish I heard the real conversation instead of just hearing C.S. Lewis talk about the conversation. There was one point in the film where the narrator says something like, "In the conversation I had with my friend on the train ride to the zoo, I had become a Christian." And I thought, wow, that was pretty anticlimactic. I would have liked to have heard that conversation that you had on that train ride or carriage ride or whatever it was. I don't want to forget to mention that this movie made a horrible decision by having a 10-minute behind-the-scenes featurette at the opening of the movie. Seriously, like, I go to the theater, Maria Menounos did her movie shtick, all 500 movie trailers played, the lights went out, and then they started showing interviews with the cast and crew describing like what was so cool about the movie, and I'm thinking, why are you showing me this? I haven't seen the movie yet. You need to put this at the end of the movie. Overall, I thought this was an interesting movie, at least from an academic perspective, and if you're a fan of C.S. Lewis, then you will probably enjoy it. But I'm not sure that this is worth a full-priced theater ticket, unless you really want to support independent Christian cinema. According to some news articles I've read, it seems that this movie is very financially successful, even though it had a very limited release in theaters. It probably has the shortest end credits I've ever seen in a movie, so it doesn't surprise me that the few $1,000,000 it makes in its limited run in theaters actually translates into a massive profit. So if you're one of the lucky people that have seen this movie or even heard about this movie, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will see you next time.